Mossad, inside the world of intelligence, surveillance, and espionage. For much of its existence, Mossad has operated in the shadows, rarely appearing in headlines unless a covert operation becomes impossible to hide. Unlike conventional military organizations that project power through visible force, intelligence agencies compete in a different arena altogether. Their battlefield is informative. Their weapons are deception, surveillance, infiltration, and secrecy. Mossad's reputation was built not through tanks or fighter jets, but through its ability to acquire information that others could not, and act on it before anyone else realized it was happening. The modern intelligence world is often described as a game of shadows, where success is invisible and failure becomes public. In that environment, Mossad developed a reputation as one of the most aggressive and operationally focused intelligence services in the world. Supporters viewed it as a highly effective defender of Israeli security interests. Critics view many of its methods as controversial or provocative. Regardless of perspective, its influence on the history of espionage is difficult to ignore. At its core, Mossad's mission revolves around gathering intelligence beyond Israeli borders. It seeks information on military developments, political movements, terrorist organizations, emerging technologies, and strategic threats. Unlike public diplomacy or military deterrence, intelligence work is based on acquiring information that other actors want to keep secret. Every operation begins with a simple objective: learn about what others are hiding. The question is how Mossad built a reputation that extends far beyond the size of a country it serves. To answer that, we need to enter the hidden world of intelligence collection, human sources, covert networks, and surveillance operations that have shaped Mossad's place in modern espionage history. Human intelligence, the art of recruiting secrets. Before satellites, cyber tools, and artificial intelligence transformed espionage, intelligence agencies relied primarily on people. Even in the digital age, many professionals argue that human intelligence remains the most valuable source of information. A satellite can photograph a missile site, a computer can intercept communications, but only a person inside a government office, military headquarters, research laboratory, or terrorist organization can explain intentions, plans, fears, and internal disagreements. This is where the craft of human intelligence begins. Mossad has long emphasized the recruitment and management of human sources, often referred to as assets or agents. The objective is straightforward but extraordinarily difficult. Identify individuals who possess valuable information and persuade them to provide it secretly. Some cooperate because of ideology, others are motivated by money, personal grievances, ambition, coercion, or a combination of factors. The challenge is not simply recruiting an individual but maintaining a relationship that can survive scrutiny, surveillance, and years of operational risk. The process often begins with extensive research. Intelligence officers study a target's professional position, social connections, financial situation, travel habits, personal vulnerabilities, and psychological profile. The goal is to understand not only what information the target can access but also what motivations could make cooperation possible. Recruitment is therefore as much a psychological exercise as an intelligence operation. Once a source is established, communication becomes the next challenge. Throughout the Cold War and into modern era, intelligence agencies developed elaborate methods to exchange information while avoiding detection. Dead drops, coded messages, covert meetings, encrypted communications, and carefully designed covert identities become standard tools of the trade. Every interaction carries a risk. A single mistake can expose years of work, compromise entire networks, and alert adversaries that an intelligence breach has occurred. Many of Mossad's most celebrated operations reportedly depended not on technology but on people who provided access, insights, and opportunities unavailable through any other means. In the world of espionage, information rarely appears by accident. It is usually acquired through patient cultivation of human relationships, a process that may take months or even years before producing results. The public often sees dramatic headlines about covert operations, but beneath those headlines lies a quieter reality: the painstaking recruitment and management of individuals willing to reveal secrets that others are determined to protect. The surveillance machine, watching without being seen. Intelligence agencies cannot rely solely on recruited sources. Human intelligence provides depth, but surveillance provides scale. Modern espionage depends on the ability to observe people, organizations, and activities continuously while remaining undetected. For Mossad, services, other intelligence services, surveillance serves as the bridge between information collection and operational action. Surveillance begins with a simple principle: establish patterns. Intelligence officers seek to understand where targets goes, who they meet, what routes they use, what routines they follow, and how their behavior changes over time. A single observation may reveal a title. A single observation may reveal little. Thousands of observations can reveal a network. The objective is not merely to watch an individual, but to map an entire ecosystem of relationships and activities. Traditional surveillance remains remarkably important despite technological advances. Teams may monitor locations, follow targets through urban environments, photograph meetings, and document movements. Such operations require discipline because the greatest danger is detection. A target who realizes they are being watched immediately becomes more cautious, potentially destroying months of intelligence work, and successful surveillance therefore depends on blending into the background and appearing completely ordinary. Technology has dramatically expanded surveillance capabilities. Communications, metadata, digital footprints, financial transactions, travel records, and online behavior can all contribute to a detailed intelligence picture. Intelligence agencies increasingly combine human observation with technical collection methods, creating a multi-layered understanding of targets. Information gathered from one source is compared against other sources to identify inconsistencies, confirm assumptions, and reveal hidden connections. Surveillance is also essential for operational preparation. Before any covert action, intelligence officers must understand security arrangements, escape routes, communication methods, and the daily habit of everyone involved. What appears to the public as a sudden operation is often preceded by months or years of observation. The visible event may last minutes, but the surveillance effort behind it may have been involved hundreds of hours of analysis and preparation. In the intelligence world, surveillance is ultimately about reducing uncertainty. Every piece of information narrows the range of possibilities, improves decision making. The agency that understands its target most completely gains a decisive advantage. For Mossad, as for every major intelligence service, surveillance is not merely a supporting activity. It is the foundation upon which espionage operations are built. Deep cover, the world of covert operations. Intelligence collection is only one side of espionage. Sometimes governments decide that gathering information is not just enough. They may seek to disrupt a threat, influence events, recover sensitive materials, or prevent an adversary from achieving a strategic objective. This is where covert operations enter the picture, occupying the space between diplomacy and conventional military action. A covert operation is designed not only to achieve a specific objective but also to conceal the identity of those responsible. Plausible deniability becomes a central consideration. Even if an operation succeeds without attribution, it can alter strategic conditions while avoiding the political consequences that might accompany an openly acknowledged action. For intelligence services such as Mossad, this requirement has historically shaped operational planning as much as the mission itself. Deep cover operations represent one of the most demanding forms of intelligence work. Officers or assets may spend months or years building identities, relationships, and credibility. Cover stories must withstand scrutiny from border officials, employers, financial institutions, and security services. Every detail must be consistent because even a minor discrepancy can expose an entire operation. In many cases, the cover identity becomes a second life that must be maintained continuously. Covert operations frequently depend on compartmentalization. Individuals involved often know only the information necessary to perform the specific role. This limits damage if one large part of the operation is compromised. Logistics personnel may not know the final objective. Surveillance teams may not know who authorized the mission. Operational security is maintained through the separation of knowledge, ensuring that no single failure automatically exposes the entire network. Planning often resembles a complex engineering project. Intelligence officers analyze transportation routes, communication systems, local security procedures, emergency contingencies, and potential points of failure. Alternative scenarios are developed for unexpected events. Extraction plans are created before operational teams are deployed. The objective is not merely success under ideal conditions, but success despite uncertainty and friction. The public often imagines espionage as a sequence of dramatic movements, but experienced intelligence professionals tend to view it differently. The visible operation is only the final stage of a much larger process involving intelligence collection, surveillance, logistics, risk assessment, and preparation. What appears sudden from the outside is usually the result of a carefully constructed architecture built long before the operation begins. In that sense, covert action is less about improvisation and more about transforming information into a strategic advantage through meticulous planning and execution. Counterintelligence, hunting the hunters. Every intelligence agency faces the same uncomfortable reality. While it is trying to penetrate others, others are trying to penetrate it. No service operates in isolation. Intelligence organizations exist when Intelligence organizations exist within a competitive ecosystem where foreign agencies, terrorist groups, criminal networks, and hostile governments constantly attempt to gather information, recruit insiders, and compromise operations. This environment makes counterintelligence one of the most critical and least visible aspects of espionage. Counterintelligence is the practice of detecting, preventing, and neutralizing espionage directed against an organization or state. If intelligence work is about acquiring secrets, counterintelligence is about protecting them. For agents such as for agencies such as Mossad, success depends not only on obtaining information but also preventing adversaries from learning how that information was obtained in the first place. One of the greatest dangers comes from insider threats. History has shown that intelligence services can suffer enormous damage when trusted personnel secretly cooperate with foreign powers. A single compromised officer may expose surveillance programs, reveal operational methods, identify assets, or undermine years of intelligence collection. Because of this risk, intelligence agencies devote significant resources to vetting personnel, monitoring unusual behavior, and investigating potential security breaches. Counterintelligence also involves deception. Agencies may deliberately feed misleading information to suspected spies, monitor compromised communication channels, or create controlled risk and leaks designed to identify hostile networks. The goal is not always immediate arrest or exposure. Sometimes the objective is to observe how information travels through an adversary intelligence system and identify additional participants in the network. The challenge becomes even more complex when multiple intelligence agencies operate simultaneously within the same region. Every embassy, multinational corporation, research institution, defense contractor, and political organization can become a battleground for competing intelligence efforts. Surveillance teams watch surveillance teams. Recruiters attempt to recruit individuals who may themselves be working for another service. Information is constantly evaluated for authenticity because planted intelligence can be as dangerous as missing intelligence. For Mossad, counterintelligence has always been inseparable from operational survival. Every successful espionage operation creates the risk that adversaries will investigate how it occurred. Every intelligence success attracts attention from organizations seeking to understand and counter future activities. In this environment, protecting secrets becomes nearly as important as acquiring them. The world of espionage is often portrayed as a contest between spies and governments, but the reality is more intricate. It is a continuous struggle between intelligence services attempting to outmaneuver one another in an attempt where trust is scarce. Deception is routine, and every piece of information must be treated as both a potential asset and a potential trap. The digital battlefield, cyber espionage, and the future of intelligence. The intelligence world that emerged after the Second World War was built around human intelligence, physical surveillance, intercepted communications, and covert meetings. The 21st century has added a new domain that is transforming espionage at a speed few could have imagined: cyberspace. Today, intelligence agencies operate not only in cities, border regions, and diplomatic circles, but also inside global computer networks that connect governments, corporations, militaries, and individuals. Cyber espionage offers several advantages that traditional intelligence methods cannot easily match. A human source may provide access to a single office or organization. A successful cyber operation can potentially access vast quantities of information across multiple systems simultaneously. Documents, communications, research data, financial records, and operational plans can all become targets. Information that once required years of recruitment and cultivation may sometimes be obtained through digital penetration of a network. For intelligence services such as Mossad, cyber capabilities complement rather than replace traditional espionage. Technology can gather enormous amounts of data, but data alone doesn't automatically produce understanding. Analysts must still determine which information is important, verify its accuracy, and place it within a broader strategic context. Human judgment remains essential because intelligence is ultimately about interpretation, not merely collection. The digital environment has also changed the nature of surveillance. Individuals leave behind extensive electronic footprints through phones, computers, online accounts, financial transactions, travel systems, and social media activity. Intelligence agencies increasingly integrate these digital traces into larger intelligence assessments. Patterns that once required months of physical observation can sometimes be identified through analysis of electronic data. The result is an intelligence picture that is broader, faster, and more detailed than previous generations could achieve. Yet, cyberspace creates new vulnerabilities. Intelligence agencies themselves are targets of cyber operations. Sensitive databases, operational records, and communication systems must be protected against intrusion. The same technologies that provide intelligence advantage can become liabilities if adversaries gain it. This creates a constant cycle of innovation and adaptation in which offensive and defensive capabilities evolve simultaneously. The rise of artificial intelligence is likely to accelerate these changes. Intelligence organizations are increasingly exploring automated analysis, pattern recognition, language processing, and predictive modeling. The volume of information available today exceeds the ability of human analysts to review it manually. Artificial intelligence offers the possibility of identifying hidden relationships and emerging threats at a scale previously thought impossible. At the same time, adversaries are developing similar tools, ensuring that technological competition remains relentless. As espionage moves deeper into the digital age, the fundamental objective remains unchanged. Intelligence agencies seek answers to the questions that have been driving espionage for centuries. What is happening? What will happen next? And how can decision makers gain an advantage before their rivals do? The methods evolve, the technology changes, and the battlefield expands, and the pursuit of information remains the central mission. In the modern era, that mission increasingly unfolds not only in the shadows of the city and diplomatic corridors, but also across the invisible networks that connected the world. The intelligence myth and reality. Popular culture has created a powerful image for espionage. Films, novels, and television series often portray intelligence officers as lone operatives conducting dramatic missions across the globe. The reality is usually less glamorous and far more complex. Intelligence network is not primarily about action, it is about information analysis and patience, and decision making under uncertainty. For every operation that becomes public, thousands of intelligence activities remain unknown. Analysts spend years studying regions, organizations, and technologies. Linguists translate communications. Technical specialists maintain surveillance systems. Cyber experts defend networks and conduct digital operations. Recruiters cultivate sources. Case officers manage relationships. Intelligence is ultimately a large institutional process involving specialists whose work rarely attracts public attention. One of the most misunderstood aspects of espionage is the relationship between intelligence and policy. Intelligence agencies do not control national strategy. Their role is to provide information and assessment that allow political leaders to make the decision. The quality of intelligence can influence policy, but intelligence itself doesn't determine what governments choose to do. Even the most accurate information has limited value if decision makers ignore it or interpret it incorrectly. Another misconception is that intelligence agencies possess unlimited knowledge. In reality, uncertainty is unavoidable. Adversaries actively conceal information, spread disinformation, and attempt to deceive intelligence collectors. Analysts often work with incomplete, contradictory, or outdated data. Success depends not on achieving perfect knowledge but on reducing uncertainty enough to support better decisions than an opponent can make. Mossad's reputation emerged from operating within this environment of uncertainty and competing. Its history reflects many of the broader realities of intelligence work and reliance on human sources, extensive surveillance efforts, covert operations, counterintelligence battles, and adaptation to technological change. While specific operations attract attention, the larger story is the continuous effort to understand threats before they materialize and to provide strategic warning in a world where information can determine national security outcomes. The intelligence profession remains one of the least visible yet most influential components of state power. Armies project force, diplomats negotiate agreements, and politicians make public decisions. Intelligence agencies operate behind those institutions, collecting information that shapes how leaders perceive the world. Their greatest success often remains secret because revealing them would compromise the methods that made them possible. In the end, the true power of intelligence doesn't come from gadgets, covert identities, or dramatic operations. It comes from knowledge. The side that understands its environment more accurately, detects threats earlier, and anticipates events more effectively gains an advantage that can influence diplomacy, military planning, economic competition, and national security. The pursuit of knowledge is a thread connecting every aspect of espionage, and it explains why intelligence agencies such as the Mossad continue to occupy such a significant place in modern international affairs.